I've just been in Albania for one day, and I've been fascinated by what I've seen. I've been fascinated by what I've learned about you. What a unique place on earth to have had the oppression of communism, to have had the ruination of places of worship, and then by the grace of Allah, look at this, to have had the seed of Islam grow after the fires of communism. Allahu Akbar. Truly, Albania, you are blessed. And I know it may not feel like it right now, but when you think of what your grandparents had to live through, those were really hard times. So we must always remember to be grateful to Allah Ta'ala for bringing us forward step by step by step into the kind of community where our grandchildren will look back, inshallah, and say, wow, look what Allah allowed our grandparents to do. Look what they lived through, and by the grace of Allah, how easy our lives are now and how full of justice, inshallah. The only place where I've quite got a similar sense of the atheism project having been overturned was Turkey, where I spend quite a lot of time. I was in Turkey a couple of months ago in a coffee shop in Istanbul, and a young girl was sitting on my right, and she looked a sort of standard Istanbul student. So she had no hijab on, jeans, sneakers, and I was smiling at her and she was looking at me like this. And I said, wow. I said, have I met you before? Because I thought maybe I've done something really rude to her. She said, no. I just want to know why you're dressed like an Arab when you're not an Arab. Okay. Then we have to go, when the insults come, we must always go to our deen and ask ourselves, what would the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how would he have reacted? Because believe me, the journalist in me had many smart remarks, and the sarcastic person in me had smart remarks. But the Muslim in the heart of me said, no. This is an opportunity. So I said to the young woman, okay, I really can see that you are awake. You are interested in what's going on around you. And you've noticed me looking different from my culture. I want to talk to you and let's enjoy a conversation, but there's a rule. I will not insult you about how you're dressed, and you must not insult me. Deal? She said, okay. Allahu Akbar. In the next half an hour, I found out that she had desperately wanted to find out about Islam. But she'd been asking her auntie and getting some, shall we say, cultural answers, or maybe family answers. You know, we don't want to listen to our families sometimes. In short, she wanted to know about hijab. She wasn't angry at me. She just wanted to know why, when I come from the free West, have I imposed slavery on myself. Let me say that again. Why would I, from the free West, where we can all walk the streets in bikinis, why would I impose modesty on myself? I think that's a fair question. I think it's one we have to be ready to answer. And the answer isn't because it's easy. Sisters, is hijab easy? Yes. Sometimes, but let's be honest, no. Hijab is not easy. I don't wear it because it's fashionable. Right now, it's under my chin. I'm 50 years old. I get hot flushes. You think this is easy? It's hot in here. We don't wear it because it's fashionable. We don't wear hijab to impress other people. Every time we wear it, we answer the question in ourselves, who am I doing this for? Why am I doing it? And you know why? It's an act of love. I did not put hijab on for a man, for marriage or for fashion. No man alive today is making me wear this. I choose hijab. This is me. It's who I am, it's who I wish to be, and how I am comfortable in society. But as you've probably guessed, I didn't wear hijab when I was younger. What did I know about Islam growing up? Because I tell you now, if I had come into this room 20 years ago and seen me standing here like this, I would have said, what did they do to you? What did that mufti there do to you? How did they make you wear these clothes? Believe me, I wouldn't have believed it either, but here I am, by the grace of Allah. What did I know about Islam growing up? Well, there were girls from Asia in my school. And we would never speak to them. The white girls would never speak to them. Who would speak to them? But from watching them, I made 3 decisions about Islam and what it meant. Number 1, Islam meant that teenage Muslim girls did not go out with boys. Number 2, Islam meant that you had to grow your hair really, really long. I don't know why. And number 3, Islam came from Pakistan. Now, as somebody who later went on to become a journalist, you'd think that I'd know more about a faith of 2 billion people in the world. But this is a mistake that Muslims make. We presume people know about us so they don't like us, which is really sad. Because I believe that if people knew us, they'd love us. Because when I got to know Muslims, I fell in love with this community. And so will other people, inshallah. So we must never presume that people know a lot. That's number 1. Allah Ta'ala has a plan for you and He has a plan for me. In 2006, I was offered a job at the Islam Channel. And I want to share a moment with you from that interview. I was a journalist living in France at the time. And a bearded man came and offered me a job and said, please meet me in a restaurant with a member of my staff. So I went to the restaurant and they sat down. And then I did this. Waiter, can I have a bottle of wine, please? Allahu Akbar. Waiter, can I have a bottle of wine, please? A religious man and another man he works with. You know, the owner of the Islam Channel, he looked at me and he said, when the wine arrived, he said, before you drink that, 2 things. Because I am Muslim, I can't stay at the table while you drink the wine. I hope you don't mind. It's against my religion. And number 2, the Islam Channel won't be buying you this wine. We can't pay for it, but my friend here who is not Muslim can pay for it. And then he did something amazing. Rather than judging me, rather than, oh, you're not going to be able to work at the Islam Channel, haram. He could have done that. Would have been, yeah. But he went outside the restaurant and he said, you finish your wine and when you're done, we'll come back. And it was a rainy day and he went in the street where I could see him and he took phone calls in the cold. And I took a sip of my wine and I had a pain in my chest. And I wondered, what is this pain that I'm feeling? Is it the anxiety that I've been having for several years? It was something different. Do you know what it was? It was shame. Shame. I had been a child who loved God. I'd been a child who, as a Christian, prayed every night for a better world. But as a 30-year-old journalist, I'd become someone who would make a religious Muslim leave a restaurant so that I could get drunk at lunchtime. That feeling entered my heart and it changed me. Muhammad Ali came back in and I took the wine away. I couldn't drink it. It tasted horrible. And then he said to me, very famous words, "Would you like a job at the Islam Channel?" I said, "What? You just saw me. You know what sort of person I am." He said, "We know you as a good person. We know you as a good journalist. Don't worry about the rest. We want you as a journalist." I said, "Okay, 2 things before I take the job. Number 1, please don't try to make me Muslim. I'm never, ever, ever going to be Muslim. You're all very nice, but Islam is not for me." Muhammad Ali looked at me and he said, "Allah Ta'ala knows whether or not you will be Muslim. And maybe you don't know." And I said, "I think your Allah is very nice, but he doesn't know me. And I'm going to do my own thing." He said, "No, I think Allah knows you." We agreed to disagree. And the second point was, don't try and make me wear hijab, because I believe it oppresses women. And Allah is the best of planners. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So I took the job at the Islam Channel and it brought me into contact with more and more women who wore hijab. In 2007, I went to Lebanon. And there I was shown around by a group of women, all of them called Zainab. I said to one sister, "What's your name?" She said, "Zainab." "What's your name?" "Zainab." "What's your name?" I said, "Now you're having a joke with me." 5 Zainabs, alhamdulillah. These were women who were smarter than me. I was 34, they were 23. They knew and I knew they were smarter than me, and it was okay. But they had hijab on, and I thought that they were oppressed. But they took me round, we went on a political tour, and I started to have a weird feeling of hijab envy. I thought, you know what I liked in Lebanon? The fact that the women, when they go into the shops in hijab, the men run out. The women go in hijab, the men go, "Whoa, hijabi women." I thought, I like this. I like this personal space. I had the same feeling in Qatar, actually. When you go into shops in Qatar, wow, the men flee like they've seen a ghost. It's brilliant. As opposed to being on the London Underground, where you can be crushed with no respect for space at all. And I've had to make a few complaints in that instance. But this was 2007. I came back and I had hijab envy, because what I saw was the students getting great respect from their lecturers, from their fellow male students, and treating themselves very kindly. They were not like British girls, drunk on a pavement at midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday and Saturday night. They were not like British girls who too often wake up on a Saturday morning with someone they don't know and vomit into a toilet, feeling awful about themselves, and then have to go to university on a Monday, picking up their low self-esteem. These girls were doing it a different way, and I respected it. But here's what was interesting. As a mainstream journalist, I'd never had an article turned down. I had pretty much 100% hit rate. If I made a phone call, my ideas were good, they'd go in. That was a bit boastful, astaghfirullah, but we're talking about old me. I wouldn't say it about me now, that was old me. But when I rang around to all of the editors I knew and I said, I want to do an article about hijab, because I quite envy Muslim women, their independence. Brilliant, right? Counter-narrative. Never been written before. Brrr, big brrr. No response to my emails. I must have tried 20 magazines and 15 senior editors. Nobody wanted the article. In the end, I snuck it in on a Friday night when I was very late with my deadline. Where's your column? Where's your column? Where's your column? It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Bing! Hijab envy. I got it in a mainstream newspaper. But that was how difficult it was. Because it's like there's only one story in town. And that story is, there is only one way to be free and independent. And that way is to follow a Western version of neoliberalism. It's as if nothing good from the East and nothing good from Islam is allowed to penetrate any of the newspaper coverage, any of the worldview, or even be debated. And that's a shame. That's a shame for women like me, who had to wait till 43 to gain their real sense of self. In 2008, I went to Gaza. I was non-Muslim, and it was the holy month of Ramadan. I had only packed for 3 days. We went by boat. We were meant to turn around and come back. But Allah Ta'ala had a different plan. I was in Gaza for the whole month of Ramadan, under siege by the Egyptians and under siege by the Israelis. Thank you, Allah, for giving me that honor to be with some of the most beautiful human beings on the planet, the people of Palestine. I didn't have a sense of what was modest. So even my long clothes had my arms showing, my back showing. This was Ramadan in Gaza. Do you know what was said to me on the streets every day? Not haram, haram. Salam, salam. Allahu Akbar. One day I went to a student meeting in Jabalia camp of second-year university students, and they were all in black abayas. And I did feel a bit naked by this point, with my back showing and my arms showing. And I said to one of the young women, I said, am I insulting you by not being modest in Ramadan in your country? I don't want to insult you. She said, let me ask the others. And the girls had a little chat. There was lots of gesticulating, and I was waiting thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to wear hijab after this. What have I done? One of the girls stood up and she said, we've had a discussion and we've come to the conclusion that if the men are looking at you instead of us, alhamdulillah. If the men are looking at you and not us, alhamdulillah. And they laughed. They laughed. Because it's okay to laugh. It's okay to be happy. All of these were lessons that we can show. They were not laughing at their faith, but they were saying, come in, meet us, you're welcome. And we need to be, now more than ever, people of welcome. That's why World Hijab Day is not a protest. It's not an angry march. It is a call of inclusiveness. We want to be included. It is a call to work together. We don't want to be on the outskirts of society here in Albania. We want to be at the center of society where our skills belong, inshallah. I want to just finish up with some things that you might like to take away as a discussion point. The way that hijab is talked about when people want to ban it is very confusing and contradictory. And a lot of it doesn't make sense. And my friend Zara Faris of the Muslim Debate Initiative made these notes, and I'm going to share them with you as thinking points. Number one, the hijab. This is something you'll hear from people who want to say they want to get rid of hijab in public spaces. The hijab is demeaning to men. The hijab is demeaning to men because it stops them seeing us. It's demeaning to them, saying they can't control themselves. But at the same time, we're told hijab is imposed by men. So which is it? Is it demeaning to men, or is it imposed by men? So men impose the hijab to demean themselves? Okay, I'm confused. Number 2, the hijab is forced on women against their will. So let's take it off them against their will, because that's liberty, right? How does that work? That still means that women are being denied the right to make our own decisions about what we wear. The hijab is a restriction on women's life choices, so women should be denied the right to wear it and make that choice. Do you see how if we're smart, none of the arguments actually make sense, and we can get through this together, inshallah. Finally, I'd like to say, who am I now? Is this Lauren less free than the Lauren before? Like the women I see before me tonight here in the capital city of Albania, I am more myself in the scarf. Why? Because it is a challenge to wear this when the majority don't, and I'm being brave for Allah. I wear it because I wear it for my faith. I wear it. It's not a protest. Although around the world our sisters have the right to protest their second-class ranking in the workplace, you should protest that. You have the right to protest against school bans, education and workplace prejudice, and in too many places around the world the risk of violence, protest against that. But we are not here protesting today. We're here to share our aspiration. The aspiration in Albania for a modern system of government that calls itself liberal and talks about sisterhood, but is closed to our sisterhood, is not a liberal system. We are here to share our inspiration. The inspiration on being better members of society. Not addicted to looking at ourselves in the mirror or on screens, but sharing our time with the needy. I looked in the mirror once and I saw an attractive 30-something woman who liked to flirt with men. Then one day I looked in the mirror and I saw an elderly Arab lady looking back, covered up. Was it me? I stopped looking in the mirror and I started looking into my heart. And I ask Allah that we all keep examining our hearts and that the people of Albania join us so we can all be free and move forward together, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Congratulations. MashaAllah.